Looks good enough. Okay. All right, we're going to call to order the Merrimack School District Budget Committee for July 21st, 2020 at the Merrimack Middle School cafeteria. Would everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Our immediate order of business is to welcome and introduce new members and old members. And I would like to express my desire for the people at home to be able to hear if you would get close to your microphone when you speak. Otherwise, it may not pick up entirely. So please take advantage of your microphone. It amplifies your voice, which I hope amplifies your influence on this Budget Committee board as well. So, can we begin with our membership on the left here? Gillian Savage.
Hi, I'm Gillian Savage. This is my going into my third year on the committee, so it's good to see you guys in the summer.
So I'm Jenna Hardy, and this is my very first day.
I'm Dan Coakley, and it's also my very first day.
You don't need to be so abrupt either. I mean, anything you'd like to say about yourself that we might get to know you a little better is perfectly all right. Lee?
Mic on. I am Lee French. This is my third year on the committee. I have 2 kids in the school district and another one coming in next year. Thank you.
And I'm Mackenzie Murphy. This is my third year, and I also went through K through 12 in Merrimack.
My name is Jordan Gualyumi. I believe it's my 4th or 5th year on the committee. I have 2 boys in the schools, and I'm a Capricorn.
My name is Lori Peters, and this is my first day. I am a teacher at Concord Christian Academy, and tonight is my son's 19th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm Andy Schneider. I'm the school board liaison to the budget committee, and I've been on this committee one way or the other since 16 years, something like that. It's been a while.
And my name is Chuck Mower. This is going into my 7th year on the Budget Committee specifically, but I have served in a number of other capacities in the community. I guess I'm a little old-fashioned in that people in my generation felt required to participate. So I've been participating in my community virtually all my life, and I'm very happy to be here this evening. Well, our first order of business is approval of our prior minutes. The minutes of February 18th, 2020. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve, Chuck.
Second?
I second that motion.
Deliberation? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. And
Carol's not on the phone.
Carol is not on the phone, so we could take an expedited version of voting by simply having a show of hands in the majority. So those in favor of approving the minutes? The minutes are approved.
Okay, that's going to record 4. How many opposed and how many are abstaining?
I
I'm
Yes,
abstaining.
you have to abstain, right. So there's 3 abstentions.
I would like to express my perspective on minutes. I know varying people believe different things about the minutes, but minutes are an ongoing record, and draft minutes are only draft in that they are not approved by the board, but they are still minutes of the meeting, and therefore even changes that are made don't negate the fact that those are still minutes of a meeting. So I've always felt that as long as we have a record, an ongoing record, it's not important whether or not you actually attended those meetings, but whether or not you're voting to confirm and approve those minutes for the record. Well, perhaps our most important agenda item this evening is, of course, reorganization. This is something that happens every year, which gives people an opportunity to participate more fully in the responsibilities of the Budget Committee. And I would like to begin with the position of chairman. Do we have a motion for a new chairman?
I nominate Charles Mower. I nominate Charles Mower.
You'll have to excuse me. I am a little bit hard of hearing. Do we have a second? Mm-hmm. All those in favor of Charles Mower, please signify so by raising your right hand. You get that in its full context, Pat?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. I don't want to rush you, Pat. Well, next is the position of vice chair. And I would like to nominate Jordan Guglielmi as a vice chairman for the Budget Committee. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Lee has seconded that motion. Would those approving of Jordan for our vice chair please signify so by raising your right hand? Jordan, are you going to vote for yourself? Thank you. Well, having conducted the most important item of business, and now being your new chair, I would like to explain to you all what my feelings are about being your chairman. As the acting chair, I believe that I took great pains to accommodate all of the members of the Budget Committee in a fashion that allowed each of you to participate equitably and robustly in the business of the Budget Committee. And it is my job to facilitate that. It's not an easy thing, and I take it on with some sobriety relative to the work that I know that lies ahead. It was difficult to arrange this first meeting. We have never before met so early. We usually don't meet until later in the fall, but there is business to be conducted, and would kind of like to get a jump on it and do some of the things that the Budget Committee decided last year that it might like to see, such as training, because it's a good thing. We have had training sessions in the past, and sometimes we get a little rusty, and we don't remember exactly what all the nuances are of the responsibility of a Budget Committee member. And of course, for new people, I believe it would be very informative and helpful so that your voice becomes equal to any other voice on the Budget Committee. Don't think for a moment that just because you're new or unfamiliar, that your participation isn't fully anticipated to be beneficial to all of the Budget Committee deliberations. I especially would like at this time to thank the administration for all of the hard work that goes into setting up a meeting like this. The Budget Committee is different. We are a very large body, and other than the arrangements that the school district can provide, such as this U-shaped social distance setup, there is no place in our district that can facilitate easily a meeting of this kind. If you have a smaller board, it might be very easy to do something virtual and Zoom and all of those modern technologies that aren't really as satisfying as meeting in place, but can be done with a small group. With a large group, I was very desperately afraid that people would get lost in the process and not be recognized for the worth that they put into getting elected and wanting to be a public official participating fully in the Budget Committee. This is an exceptionally important committee. Its functions may be somewhat limited in that we have no power over school district board decisions, etc. But we are nevertheless a council of different individuals in the community looking at the budget and trying to add our disposition to whether or not we think a budget as presented by the school board is adequate and serviceable and in the best interests of how we view our community. So often people say it's another set of eyes, but it is more than that. It is another set of community participation in deliberating what we expect our fellow citizens to support at the annual school district money, district with appropriated money. Excuse me. At this time, is there anything that any member would like to add or subtract or reflect on or have anything to say? I'm willing to entertain complete and full participation. Oh, I know you all have very busy lives and you took some time out to come here this evening and you probably just want me to get on with everything, so very well. We now have to have an acceptance of member resignations. So one of our previous board members who was very dedicated, Amanda Heidberger, submitted her resignation, and we need to act on that. Do I hear a motion to accept Amanda's resignation?
I'll accept that.
Thank you, Jordan. Is there a second?
Second.
Lee, thank you. We'll now signify so in the affirmative by raising our right hand. Very well. Thank you very much, Amanda, for everything that you contributed to the school board, or the school budget committee. Thank you. And we have a standard process that we have utilized in the past for filling vacancies, but it's the decision of the budget committee what they wish to do. We do not have to fill a vacancy. We can go along with the membership we have, or we can advertise to fill the position and get a full board. Obviously, this requires some extra effort on our part to advertise for the position and to hold additional meetings to interview and ultimately appoint a full membership to the board. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Chuck, can I ask a question? How many
Sure.
positions are available for everyone's knowledge?
There is one, excuse me, my glasses, two positions available.
And do you mind, for everyone's benefit, describing the process if we decided to fill those positions?
Sure, hang on just a sec. Let me get my notes on that. Okay. In the past, we have advertised in local publications. We have a standard form for release, asking people who are interested. Well, I can just read it, might be easier. The Merrimack School District Budget Committee announces it has 2 open seats until the April 2021 election. The committee is looking for Merrimack residents who are registered voters and who have an interest in filling one of these seats for the upcoming budget year. Anyone interested should send a letter of interest containing name, address, email, and phone number to the Merrimack School District Budget Committee. Attention, Chuck Mower, Chair, care of Merrimack School District, SAU 26, 36 McElwain Street, Merrimack, New Hampshire, 03054. This letter must be received by mid-August. Do we have a date certain on that, Pat? Okay.
To you.
The committee will meet to hold the public interviews with those who have submitted letters of interest and determine the final process for filling the vacant seats. Anyone with questions should contact Chuck Mower at 424-1200. So people would respond to the school district with a letter of interest. Those letters of interest would be accumulated for the consideration of the Budget Committee, at which time we would hold a meeting and decide who meets the qualifications that the Budget Committee as a whole desires, and a subsequent meeting to adjudicate the situation. So that would require us holding 2 meetings in August. Let's see. Potentially August 11th or 18th. We could interview the candidates. Last date for letters of interest to be received would be Friday, August 7th, or Monday, August 10th, or 8/11. Last date for letters of interest to be received would be Friday, August 14th, or Monday, August 17th, or 8/18. What is the pleasure of the board?
Given the last 4 months in our community and the number of people who courageously stepped up to run for this committee, I think people would like to have a voice, and I'd like to see us fill those slots with community members who maybe in the last 4 months haven't felt like they've been heard because we've all been stuck at home.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think that we know from the election that there's interest. I think that there's no reason to leave 2 open seats when there's interest.
Anybody else? Andy?
So just a question about the process. So when you get the list of people that are interested, is the first meeting to bring them individually so that they can answer
So they can be
questions?
interviewed by the budget committee, that's correct.
And then you'll have everybody that's interested that submitted that night, but you're not going to make a decision until the
That's correct.
until the subsequent meeting.
It would be a subsequent meeting.
Okay.
I personally have always felt that we should have as much participation as possible, but that we should not rush to judgment. Very often when you hear information, it's valuable to have an opportunity to think about it for some time before you act on it with finality. And that has been our practice in the past. I know, Jordan, you have also expressed that same opinion in the past. Go ahead.
I was going to go ahead and make the motion that we open it up with the deadline of, what was August 14th? I'm sorry.
I think he said
Friday,
7th.
August 11th.
Be the meeting, so.
All right, so I'll make the motion that we open it up and we distribute accordingly and see who from the community would like to participate in consideration for the 2 open seats.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
I second.
All right.
Public request out here?
I'm sorry, we're not accepting public participation at this time. We have a motion on the floor, made and seconded. Can we have an affirmative by raising your right hand? All right, thank you very much. Now, a couple of reminders if I can. Please notify me if you're going to be absent from a meeting. We had some difficulty this past year, although we've not experienced that in 28 years as I understand it. But nevertheless, it's important that everybody participate so that we have a quorum at the very least. Full attendance is quite frankly expected. And you can be excused for a number of different reasons, but please notify me if you have some conflict that is not going to allow you to participate. Also, when you are sending email back and forth, please do not hit reply all. That is a violation of the right to know law, and we don't want to have any such difficulty happening. And I, as the chairman, will be responding to all of the budget committee emails on behalf of the board. Okay, so our next meeting dates were really just confirmed by our action on August 11th. We'll be meeting here, same time, 7 p.m. And later in the fall, we will be having a training session so that we understand more fully what our responsibilities are and what the Budget Committee powers actually are, which will be very interesting. It's always good to brush up on those things.
Chuck, is it possible for you to email us the form, the thing that you read to us about how people can apply for the Budget Committee? Could you email it to us so that if we know people that are interested, we have a copy, we could just give them the details?
If you know someone that is interested, just please have them contact.
Just have them contact you?
No, do not contact me. Contact the Merrimack School District
Oh, the superintendent's office, yeah.
office.
Okay.
And, okay. Once more, because I may not have thoroughly touched on the subject, I would like to thank the superintendent, Mark McLaughlin, the assistant, Matt Chevenel, the town media department, Nick LaValle, the maintenance department, Tom and Mike, and all the people that are behind the scenes making something like this happen under very difficult circumstances. I want them to know that it is well appreciated. We know it was a difficult undertaking in these times with COVID-19. I am of the age and physical disposition that I do not want to be contracting COVID-19. So we've taken great pains to make sure that everybody is able to participate in their statutory responsibilities and be comfortable and feel safe. And while maybe Pat and I would take some credit in trying to set this up, the real credit lies in the school district that is behind us and supporting us at the superintendent level. And I'd again like to thank Mark McLaughlin. All right, is there any other business or considerations that would come before the board?
Chuck, I had a question about the schedule for the training sessions. Do we have any rough idea of when those may occur?
Oh, the training session?
Correct.
Probably sometime in October.
October.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To be announced, but roughly we believe October. We had a bit of a jam last year with the school district budget being formed and leaving us essentially a constricted time frame within which to accomplish our obligations to the budget law. And so we want to avoid that this year by getting started early, doing some of the business that we need to undertake, to get some training done, and to be prepared in the fall to start in a way that gives us a little bit of wiggle room in case something happens. Does that satisfy you?
Fantastic.
Okay, Lee, thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Public participation. When you come to the microphone, would you please speak into the microphone as clearly as possible with a mask? With a mask, please.
In case you see me and you see my face, please wave. Hi, everybody. I'm kind of new to town. I've been in Merrimack for about a year. A few of you got my vote.
Who are you?
My name's Jonathan O'Keefe, 1 Pratt Lane. Is that part
Thank
of
you.
it?
That's perfect.
Thank you. So I guess I don't want to step on any toes. I have a process question. Being new, I had heard you say that you'd conduct an interview for the open seats, and that you'd find whether or not they meet the committee's desires. I suppose, though, why don't you look at the, 3 or 4 people that did actually get votes from the town that didn't get the seats? I just wondered if you guys could give an explanation as to why a really good resume wouldn't be a quarter of the voting population, I think was the highest that didn't make it on. So,
The protocol that we're using is of a historic nature and has been confirmed by the Budget Committee.
is there precedent at all for going with the next highest votes?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, very well, thank you.
Good afternoon, Jason Brodsky, 5 Lexi Circle.
would like to express my support for what Mr. O'Keefe said. There is, in fact, a precedent for following up with the people who received the most votes, and there was expression from multiple committee members that public participation is something that we're looking for. And having the fact that we had more people show up to the election running than open seats shows you that there is public interested in being on the committee. And the fact that the folks that are elected did not have to go through a process or an interview or qualifications other than public support does in fact support the precedent that picking the folks that received the remaining support is a valid choice.
Is there any other public participation?
If I may, Chuck?
Yes.
I came in 3 years ago at the beginning of the season where there was an open seat and also had to go through the vetting process of the board. So there is some historical precedence there. Not to disqualify what you're saying in any way, but some of us did have to go through that process prior to being voted in by the board, not just being publicly elected. That's all.
Right.
When you came into that process, how many votes did you have?
Excuse me. This is not a debate back and forth with the Budget Committee.
With all due respect, sir, I was just asking about process.
Well, I'm telling you that this is not an open dialogue with the public.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Andy.
So I just wanted to chime in on this a little bit because we, as a budget committee, dealt with this probably 10 years ago for the first time that I can remember. I think we worked with Stan and his crew on a process back then, but the school board does it as well. Whenever, and if people could listen out here for a minute, because there is precedence, even though it might not fit what you're thinking. When there's a group of people that run for a position, and then after the election, the people that receive the next number of votes, they are certainly entitled and encouraged to put their name out, as well as anybody else that has interest. The sitting board then has the opportunity to give that person the same due process as anybody that wants to. Now, it could be that a person that ran was interest, could be a person that didn't ran has interest as well. The fact that they received votes shows that they had some support from people in the community, but it could be that the people in the community for the next position might have somebody else in mind. So it's fair to everyone to have people come, be able to put their name in, whether they were on the ballot or not, and then be able to move forward. So that there is precedent for school board, budget committee, and other committees in town for that, even the town council as well. So I just wanted to let people know this isn't some baked or preconceived approach that they're taking. It's pretty consistent across all the boards in this town. Thank you.
I'd actually like to add that somebody had mentioned, I don't remember who it was, that, did we have to go through an interview? I definitely didn't sit here and go through an interview, but those of us that were elected went through like a 4-month-long interview where we were asked and had to answer well more than 15 minutes to an hour worth of questions from our entire town. So I wouldn't discount the fact that we absolutely may not have been interviewed by the budget committee, but we were interviewed for 4 months straight about our qualifications. We had to answer all those questions too. So I would not say that that is not accurate of those of us that ran either.
Now, as chairman, let me speak for the board. Andy, I think you articulated fairly well the democratic process. We have just voted to hold a meeting to interview candidates and have expressed the protocol by which anyone who is interested can apply and be interviewed by the full committee. That is indeed the most fair thing we can do. Despite the fact that many people may have run for a particular office and not quite met the threshold, is not an indicator that they would be best suited to being on the budget committee. There may be an individual that moved into Merrimack yesterday who might be the very best individual that the Budget Committee as a whole thinks is best suited to participate in this process. So we have adopted a straightforward protocol that gives the most opportunity for the most number of people to be interviewed and selected by the entire body. There is nothing, I think, that is more fair than that outline. Is there any other business to come before the board? All right, we'll go back to public participation.
Okay, I'm Pete Hinkle, 1 Pondview Drive in Merrimack. So I would just want to make sure I understand this process correctly. From what you say, I gather there's a certain threshold of votes that people have to achieve, and that's not correct? No. Explain that again.
Mr. Hinkle,
Sorry.
if I could have your attention. I just articulated the position for the board, and there is no threshold of votes that gives anybody an advantage over any other candidate to be considered for a position on the Budget Committee. You are welcome to submit a letter of interest as well as anybody else.
Okay, you used the word threshold a minute ago. That's why I was wondering about that.
Well, voting is a threshold of the voters. So people who did not win in the election do not receive any special attention as a result of having once tried to get elected to something. They have the same opportunity as anybody else in town going forward to be a member of this budget committee by submitting a letter of interest and agreeing to be interviewed by the full committee.
So follow-up question to that. Could somebody submit that letter even though they hadn't run for the position?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, why do we bother to have a vote?
Well, that may be something you want to take up with your state representatives.
Uh-huh. Okay, so that's in the statutes, state statutes?
I'm sorry, what do you...
I say, that provision you just referred to, that's in the state statutes? The state laws?
We've been very clear about what this process is and how it allows for any resident in the town of Merrimack to become a member of this board and fill the vacant seats. Any discussion that you may have as to the wheres and the whys and so on and so forth lie within a different body. I suggested your state representatives, but you're welcome to go anywhere you desire. It's not a point of discussion for the Budget Committee.
Okay, that's my mistake. I just thought this would be a place to get that clarified, but thank you.
Can I add something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Your name, please, address.
Pat Heidberger, 18 Meeting
Please
House Road.
come speak to the microphone, please.
Well, I'm not that tall.
Well,
There you go. Pat Heidberger, 18 Meeting House Road. I'd just like to say that I think that the decision on who's going to be on the committee should be up to the voters and not just you guys. That's all.
That's why we had an election, right? That's why we had an election, I think.
thank
Yeah.
you very much. Public participation is now over. Is there any other business to come before the board?
There were only 4 seats.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Thank
Motion to
you,
adjourn.
Gordon. Second? All those in favor signify so by raising your right hand. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.